here we are. We're letting off the confetti because we have 2,000 followers on TikTok.
Yes, Isaac's telling us it was 2,000, but we can't hear him because I forgot to record it.
Yes, we're believing that we'll have 2,000 by the time we post it.
True.
We don't actually have 2,000 yet.
And then Isaac tells us a bunch about taxis.
Taxis, true, yeah. Yep. I did talk about taxis for a bit. So yeah, that's
and then I told you about a lady falling off my bike whilst coming to test ride.
Well, what are we doing? Are we doing this segment in fast forward?
I reckon you should put it in fast forward and just have that over the top of it.
Well, it's not me. It's that's going to be an editing. That's going to be our editing team.
Talk about a complicated episode to start with.
We're going to be referring that to our editor, Josh.
Funny
John,
joke.
Gerald. Nathan, like me, did you get a gift of 5 NFTs for Christmas?
From yourself?
Well, I actually did buy them for myself. But
no, I didn't.
Yeah, well, monkey-themed crypto NFTs are all the rage.
It's true.
I bought a couple of monkey-themed ones.
Oh.
I bought a bat-themed one.
True.
Yes.
I did get a bat-themed one, actually.
Yes, very nice. Very nice. Basic bat.
Basic bats.
Basic bats.
That's right.
That was, if you were paying attention to our last episode, Jory Davies has a project called Basic Bats, which is pretty cool, and it's going to include an NFT-based game.
It is.
It's 2022. It's the first 2022 episode.
Yes, it is.
It's exciting times. We are in a new year, and I think we're going to be shooting for 1 million followers. We have 1,954 on TikTok at the moment, and 170 on YouTube. I think.
Let's just be real here. We did record a full proper segment, but I just hit record on the audio recorder, so we've missed it all, and that's why there's confetti everywhere.
No, you can't let anyone know about that. They can't even see the confetti. It's all on the table.
So we don't have... Oh, now the video stopped. Where's our new camera?
You can even see my cat in the background. Some people may get a kick out of that.
What's your cat's name?
Mia.
Mia, okay.
Oh, look, her ears packed up. She's like me. She's been my only friend in lockdown last... Man, cats, animals during this pandemic.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
good for mental health.
I knew therapy animals were a thing, but like, unbelievable.
Yeah.
I fostered a lot during the 12 lockdowns we had. I fostered 12 kittens, actually.
Oh, so you just have them for a period and then you...
have them for like 8 weeks each, which is...
Is that sad because you have to give them back?
Yeah.
It's horrific. So she was my first foster.
Right.
Obviously, she's still here 2 years later. Yeah. So she's made it out of off the streets. But I was like, more. I'm at home all the time and I can't see my friends. I can't see my family.
No.
But I know it started coming off the Australian bushfires.
Yep.
When all of the animal shelters were being used to house like koalas and wallabies and stuff.
Yes,
and then where were all the
I remember that.
cats and dogs going to go?
Yes.
And so the shelters reached out and I was like, this isn't ideal.
Wow.
This isn't great.
Yeah.
But I'll do it. And as you can see, got a bit of a addictive personality. I'm like, 1, do 10. We'll do 10. How about 10? Yeah.
You had 10 at once?
3 was the most I had at once.
3, okay, yeah.
3 I found that firmly is my limit.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned in one of your videos about the point there, you mentioned that industry was competing for talent. And so is that what you're experiencing when you're trying to hire people? Because right now you're starting a business. Maybe we should go back to that.
Yeah, cool.
So so you were working, is this right that you were working in law for a while?
Yeah, so I was working in, so I worked for the federal government in various agencies for 7 or 8 years. It went from litigation at a big government department to a more in-house legal services, which is more like research and policy direction. And that was in the privacy and data protection space. That was where I started getting really interested in this crypto stuff, because I started saying, okay, so there's a lot of stuff happening in the global privacy space. People are pricking their ears up. They're very interested in what information is being collected and where it's going. And that was so I worked, I guess, inside in that space for a while.
Yeah.
And then I've been doing this on the side for a long time and recently went full time.
Wow. And when was that? Was that the end of last year or?
Yeah. So I did it on the side, which was a nightmare to navigate in terms of conflict.
Was that consulting kind of stuff that you were doing on the side?
Well, that just started as content creation. And then, and then I think a few people pieced together what my background was, which is when my channel kind of blew up, because that was when I linked my LinkedIn. And they were like, she did that, because I couldn't do that before because of conflict. So it was really frustrating, because I was filming all my TikToks and I was like, I want to say something interesting, but not too interesting, because it can't go too big. Like, it can't be too controversial, because it'll go viral and I'll get fired. And I just was constantly on the fear of losing my job for a year. Because it obviously was so important to me, and, was learning a lot, and it was really valuable. And then around November last year, I just was like, I got to go. And it was interesting, because that was around when they started talking about coming back into the office. I was like, ooh, that is where we might have some issues. So I saw a couple of other people were doing their own kind of thing, and I, recognizing how lucrative the content creation side is of things. So I think now is a really great time for people to look into, leaving, and it is really lots of opportunity.
Yep. Yeah. So in terms of content creation, so when you commented on our original video, which got us meeting this, I think you had 24,000 followers. Now we've seen it go up to 92,000 in about a month.
Is it 92?
I think it was about 92,000.
Can't even keep track.
I haven't looked in a while. That's really exciting.
Yeah. So do you have any tips for content creating in on TikTok, and how do you blow up that fast?
I have a lot of tips on this one. I just had a meeting with someone this morning about this. Well, firstly, we're not done yet. We're going to a mill, and we've got a really fun surprise planned for a mill.
Oh, dang.
Very good.
It's a little bit out of left field, a little bit crazy, but that is how I do things.
Awesome.
So that's probably my first tip, is to plan long term. I see the people that are like, okay, I'm filming, like, people will come to me. It's like, you need to film like 15 a day for a year. Or you need to research algorithms, or you need to learn about trends, but you need to do it for a long time. You need to plan a long time. My content is planned 6 months in advance. And that's why I'm able to be so flexible in my day-to-day, is because I've got my long-term plan, which means that I know what I can't move.
Isaac and I love, I'd say we're friends.
We're in love with.
A lady named Kathy Wood. Which I think you might have a bit of an infatuation for as well. Right. It's a bit like that, right?
Ms. Kathy Wood. Ms. Kathy. Oh.
I was looking at some of what she's saying about crypto at the moment, and I was interested I jumped on her website, ARK Invest, and they've got a bunch of their different products. So they've got, ARKK, ARKF, they all do different things. Yeah. And one of them is like a page on cryptocurrencies. And it's interesting because in all of the other products, you can click through to more information. It shows you what percentage they hold of different companies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in the crypto, just Tesla.
Yeah, Tesla. But with her cryptocurrencies page, there's a button and it just says request information. I was like, oh, interesting. So I click the button, and there's a form you have to fill out. And one of the drop downs is how much are you willing to invest? And the minimum amount was $1 million US, and it implies that you're an accredited investor. I was like, oh, this is so interesting. And so she says So it's crazy. Obviously, she says things like it's a new asset class, it's an inflation hedge. And she believes it's going to be something like 500,000 K, right? I don't know what year she predicts that. But I think the biggest thing that she talks about now is like Bitcoin mining and renewable energy coming together and sorting that problem out. Have you had any thoughts about that? Have you heard anything about that or any thoughts? I have one thought, but you go first.
Yeah. I have been watching what Ms. Wood's been doing for a long time. I think she is incredible. I think what she's doing in a market where that whitelist basically is what it was, like, and put your name and, how much are you willing to invest? That's basically a whitelist. Yeah. That's, only serious people need apply to crypto information. She's been doing stuff like that for a long time. Yeah. She's been, because people go, okay, it's an emerging asset class. No one's talking about it. Oh, she's been talking about it for, ARK Invest has been looking at it for ages. What have they figured out? Yep. And then now she's in that position where she can be like, wouldn't you like to know what we figured out? Yeah. Wouldn't you like? Because you guys, I remember, I mean, I'm putting myself in her. I've been there where, a lot of people are like, oh, it's really risky. I don't know. I think she's lost it. I think she's lost the edge. Yeah. She's exposing herself to a lot of risk being so opinionated as a fund manager. And I think it's paying off, and it's making, even if it's just making people like me who, have been told, no, you can't do this. No, I think you're missing the point. And coming back and saying, no, actually, I think maybe you don't have all the information is what is actually happening here. Did you get it? Mosquito. So I think she's really, really incredible to watch. And I think she's doing the right thing with the various different streams that she's looking into. Because you do have to, I mean, if you're doing what ARK Invest is doing, which is putting itself as the premier monitoring, or I guess cutting edge of hedge fund investing in I don't want to say too many nicknames because I'm keeping a few for myself because I'm trying to follow a little bit of what she's doing. I mean, because it's just amazing. But I think I'm going to keep watching her space, and a lot of the content is really useful with that Bitcoin and renewable energy thing. That's interesting because that's the biggest, I guess, myth that I encounter in my day-to-day of people not understanding the actual energy efficiency background of what's happening with these technologies. And it makes people so quick to write it off. They're like, ew, Bitcoin, it's not bad for the environment. It's like, oh, I feel like that movie Don't Look Up. Did you guys watch that?
How big is this thing, though? Like, can it destroy my ex-wife's house? Is that possible?
There's a 100% chance that we're all going to die.
I did, yes. I like that one.
Yeah, it's amazing. I feel like I'm in that. Like, I feel like I'm Dr. Mindy being like, here are the numbers. Like, here is the information. Like, please, will you read it? And everyone's like, no. So it's incredibly frustrating. But I think they're doing some very interesting research into the data so that, people will pick up on that stuff and say, actually, there's a lot of potential here.
True. Okay, so two things. Just on the note there, we had a comment actually on one of our TikToks recently from this guy in the US, and he was telling me that the comment says, we have an unlimitedly scalable Bitcoin mining ability. And I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. So I DM him.
Yeah, right.
And, he tells me, it's an interesting concept. He tells me that there's a bunch of these liquefied natural gas plants around the world, right? So they take all the gas out of that's extracted from under the ground. They take it into these facilities, and they have to extract all of these other gases out of it before they turn it into a liquid and then send it around the world, right?
Yeah.
When they are going through that clarification process where they're extracting the other lighter gases, there's this one element of it where the gases are coming out and there's actually a bunch of energy being released. And so this particular guy has these micro turbines. So he's connected to this extraction points, and then that's connected to a bunch of like Bitmain Pro miners sort of thing. I think the S19 Pro miners, whatever they're called. And so because of that, he's basically getting almost free power to a certain extent. He told me his cost is like. What did he say? At the moment, the average cost is like about 11 cents for commercial power, but his cost was closer to 1 cent. And so he's got this crazy profitable way of mining Bitcoin. I was like, oh, it's so cool. It's so interesting. He was consulting with this guy. But just one question for you. You mentioned there about whitelists, and some of our audience might not be super aware of that. In the context of what you do, could you explain what that is?
Sure. So a whitelist in, I guess, crypto terminology often refers to a coin or a project or an NFT that's dropping or is being released. And oftentimes these companies will put a lot of time and money into promotion. And as part of that promotion, people will be able to offer, I'll get you on the whitelist. It's basically like the list at the door of the club that you want to get into, right? And the promoters, that's why content creators are so important, and brands are recognizing this, is because the promoters are the ones at the door, and everybody knows when you want to get into that club that like nobody can get into, you got to know either the bouncer or the owner or the DJ. Like you don't need to know anyone in the crowd. So the trick there, it would be the door list or a connection or an in. Yeah. And a whitelist basically acts as that. So it's usually just you give your information or your crypto wallet address or whatever it is, and they place you on a list for some kind of benefit, either a pre-entry or I participated in the Matrix NFT drop where I was on the whitelist for that, which was cool. That was on my third or fourth whitelist project. That was cool. So it's basically that, that pre-in, and then, once things launch, it could go really high, it could go really low, but if you're on the whitelist, you're off. It can be, yeah. So you're often, just the first to know and do with that what you will.
Yep. So with whitelists, I actually learned what the concept was maybe 2 weeks ago. So I got sent an NFT based on an NFT project that I was in. So then someone else sent me an NFT that was like, it was just it was like an invite code for their NFT project. So that one was kind of a new one to learn. But so you were saying that whitelists have are for crypto projects as well, not just an NFT kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. It's originally a cybersecurity based term. So I know it from that context of you have blacklisting and whitelisting. So your blacklist is, everybody's out. And your whitelist is everybody's out except for these people. That's basically what it comes down to. So sometimes I find it helps with these more difficult or more advanced crypto concepts to just go back to the origins of the word and be like, we don't need to overcomplicate it. It's really just comes down to like first in, best dressed, pre-invite, So it can be crypto and NFTs and, whatever else they're going to invent next week, right? Like, who knows?
Yeah. And so are you on any good upcoming whitelists for an upcoming project that hasn't launched quite yet?
None that I can announce as yet, but I'm always looking for really, really interesting ones that I can talk about that I want to go and dig more into. Yeah. So that Matrix one, they didn't come to me. I just signed up for the whitelist because I was like, I want a Matrix one. And I ended up not even getting a good one. I got some cat that is a glitch in the Matrix. And it's like, I'm like, thank you so much. I love it. It's just this cute cat that keeps like glitching. And that's an NFT that's in some or other wallet right now. Yeah. None that I've like officially gone into right now, but I'm always keeping my eyes open for something special. And I'm keen to, I mean, you guys know what it's like. There's a lot of junk out there. There's a lot of get rich quick type schemes. And I think some of these NFTs and crypto projects are launched as like genuine. Everybody knows it's a pump and dump. Everybody knows that we're just going to make a bit of money out of it quick and great. But I'm not interested in those. I'm interested in long-term projects that have, I guess, some real fundamentals, or utility is a big word I'm hearing all the time. What's the utility? So I mean, that's what I've been saying. I'm like, what does it do? People thought I was nuts. Like, I've been saying this for 6 months. Like, I get brands saying, you know, can you talk about this? I'm like, great. What does it do? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, what do you mean? What do I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And they're like, it's this picture. Okay. It's pretty. I like it.
Everyone wants to have a useful NFT project now instead of having a just a picture of a monkey. Yeah,
exactly. They can only take you so far.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of cryptos that you're most excited about, what sort of does your what does your own portfolio look like, and how do you break it down? So I saw someone on YouTube lately, and he's a pretty big crypto YouTuber, and he just says, I just keep 80% in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and 20% is all the other alts. Do you have a specific breakdown? Are you 100% in Polkadot, Luna? You know, is it all one random thing? How do you break it down?
That's a really good question. I don't know if you've seen. It's very rare on my TikTok, but I've done 1 or 2 in all my videos of what is in my portfolio, and some could say that I am a hoarder. I like to hoard them. I like to collect them, I will say. I'm like a Pokemon. I'm like, gotta catch them all. I want them all. So that's my approach. I would say actually the 80-20 Bitcoin ETH alts is like a good place to start. I would say that is a really safe, in terms of not too exposed to risk, not too risk averse, and that, you know, it's really boring, nothing's happening. 80-20 for the really strong stuff and alts is great, because I don't provide financial advice, because I'm like 80% alts, let's go. I invest in things that will make money. And I invest in things that I believe in and I hope do well, which is often, you know, what everyone does. But I think some people aren't honest with themselves of what they're investing in. And they say, I invested in this. And I'm like, what you mean to say is you gambled. You gambled in this. Where,
you've got to be careful with the terms. Yeah.
Exactly. It makes a difference. I'm like, you'll make fun of gambling at a casino, but then you'll just do the same thing with crypto. And it's the same concept of, I don't really care what the project does. I don't really care who's made it, but it looks like it's going up. So let's ride the train. And, you know, that, as anyone who's been in the game for a while will tell you, is like that you can get some great wins with that, but you can also lose your home and your your job and all of these really awful things that come with gambling.
Yeah, I can remember in 2017 when Bitcoin was first kind of soaring, and people just sold all their house, sold all their stuff, lived in the woods, like had, you know,
I'm so close to doing that.
And then just went straight into it. Yeah,
I'm ready to. I've been consolidating and moving assets for a while so that I can put more into crypto, but. Again, not financial advice. Nobody come after me when you lose your wife or your husband or your house. But listen, it's working. I don't know what to tell. My parents still struggle with it, but I just show them. I'm like, it's working. Like, leave me alone. And
really? Interesting.
Yeah.
Hard for them to understand.
We're still getting there. It's a process. So that's why it's really important that you have, you know, do your own research. But that is why it's really important that you actually do your research, because when one dips, when a crypto that you're really overexposed to dips, you're panicking. You're like, I'm going to lose all my money. Like, it should never be that situation, because that's gambling. Yeah. I really advocate for like good vibes only investing approach, because you shouldn't be making emotional decisions anyways.
So you don't have any specific projects that you're most excited about? Like if there's a top 3, is there anyone doing anything unique? So, for example, Helium is one that I'm really interested in, which is 5G networks. There's another one that's doing space. It's like proof of space, like hard drive disk space. For
is that the storage? Yeah. Is that storage or another one?
I've forgotten what name it was.
We're going to get wrecked in the comments.
Yeah, I'm going to get destroyed.
You're in trouble. See, that's why I'm careful about what I say, because I'm like,
no, we don't care.
I'm not in the mood to get bullied today.
No. We have a thick skin. So
you have to.
Yeah.
Have to.
So we like. I personally really like Terra Luna as well.
Yeah.
And
I think what they're doing is really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that space a lot. I've been watching Avalanche for a long time. I think what they're doing is, what I look for in a crypto or any project or any NFT project, anything that is launching that has strong fundamentals and has been building for a while, because I like to look for a dark horse.
Yeah.
Because I picked Sol before anyone else did.
Yeah.
I picked Sol under 50 cents and it went to $300.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
And people thought I was nuts when I was going into Sol. And the people that thought I was crazy when I went into, Sol and Phantom and Luna and AVAX, the ones that were a bit like bubbling under the radar and then popped off. And, everyone's like, how did you pick that? And I'm like, I specifically told you what was happening behind the scenes, that there were really talented developers and engineers going to these projects, that they were making important deals in the background. I think people can be so impatient in the space. They're not willing to do the research and find out what's actually happening behind the scenes. They'll just go off like, an Instagram post and chuck in $1,000 on that. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But like at least a little bit of learning, like the basics, like please.
Is Sol better than Ethereum? And if so, is there even a place for Ethereum to still exist in 5 or 10 years?
Oh, heavy hitter.
I think this year may answer that question.
Okay.
I'm watching both very, very closely. Both are a potential incredible dark horse.
I agree.
But both have significant problems that they need to deal with.
Yeah.
And this is why you have to watch what's happening behind the scenes, because how do they deal with those problems? With people, with talented developers, talented engineers, blockchain writers, people that understand the long-term goal of the project. So I am really excited to see what happens. And I think they're both really ambitious and they're trying to take on a lot this year.
Yeah.
It's really just, we'll see how that goes. But I'm excited. They're both doing really cool stuff. I'm excited for the NFT stuff that's coming out on Sol. I know I've got a couple of really talented NFT, women and NFT artists that are doing the brave thing and, launching on Sol and seeing how that goes. And I'm watching and I love it.
Yeah, I've noticed that that Sol, it's great that it's got those low fees and everything. But just like what Jory was talking about in our last podcast, if no one adopts it as a useful thing, then Ethereum will just keep winning.
Yeah,
exactly.
There's no like gas fee. I mean, the fees are so much lower. And
that's the thing. That's the thing. That's what you'll find with most of these companies is like, that's why there are so many of them, because no one company has solved all of these problems. Like that is the issue that we're in, is that we want really fast technology that's also really cheap and is also really exciting and is also really secure and also really private. A couple are coming close, but no one has solved all of these things. And I don't know if it's something that one can solve. I think it might. The future might be multi-chain, because I think it goes back to that scaling thing of, projects that are trying to solve all the problems and then the developers get really frustrated and then they leave and now they're on this one. And the people people that are building this stuff, everything rests on them right now, which is why I'm like always recruiting for someone to do, really anything to be mobilized in the space in some way, because there's opportunities.
Yeah. So with Ethereum versus Sol again, so Vitalik just recently came out saying that it'll be another 6 years before he can merge to Ethereum 2.0, something that everyone was pretty much looking forward to maybe this year, maybe next year. Do you think that had we've recently seen the price drop, not that we look at prices, but we have seen the price drop. Do you think that Ethereum, if it's going to take another 6 years to merge to a proper Web3, situation, do you think that it'll easily be overtaken by something else? Is this the end for it, or?
This is interesting because it goes back to that whole loyalty thing, right?
That's right.
It's been so great. We're now running into some problems because there are other options where there weren't other options before. And so now, Vitalik has realized, as I'm sure he did long ago, that we'll need to keep up to date. We'll need to keep the people interested. But I think what he's done with announcing that timeline was a really smart move, because the fact that he's even announcing this will take 6 years means that a lot of planning has gone into that timeline. And I remember the announcement when it said 2022. And now, seeing this one, it shows me that either him or some very, very smart people in the team have said, you need to make an announcement about this, because people will start figuring out that it will not be done this year. Yeah. You can either close it down now and not announce it and risk the reputational risk of that, or you can announce it, give people notice. Yeah. And from now, it's really just a matter of, will the developers and engineers and all the right people in the space stay with the project, or will they move to other things? I hold a fair bit of ETH. I still believe. Yeah.
Do you have much staked? Like a percentage?
I'm not staking any ETH right now. Okay. I should. But I stake a few other, I guess, some of the higher rates of staking, just to have some passive income coming in. But I'm really excited about what the project is going to do. Listen, I've learned patience over the last few months. So 6 years, I'm like, it's a long time away. But my thinking is like, it better be good. Yeah. And if you know him and his team and who he works with, I think it will be. I think it will be. Maybe I'm an ETH maxi. I don't know. I better not call that, but I like what they're doing. I like what they're doing a lot.
In Australia, what do you think the agenda looks like for crypto?
Massive year this year. I think so. Do you not think?
No, I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah, we've got CBA. You can trade it with CBA. So yeah.
I am seeing a lot of the signs of mass adoption, and I'm seeing a lot of people, that were all of last year calling last year the mass adoption year. And I'm still seeing newspapers and, whoever say last year it came to the mainstream. I'm like, did it? I missed that. I mean, I'm in the space, so I came to it, but none of my real world friends care.
Just pivoting a little into DAOs, into the DAO space. So we talked about DAOs for the first time kind of last week, and we were talking a little about how they're kind of like the future of company structures. So you no longer need. Yeah, I mean, potentially. So you kind of no longer need to be an accredited investor to invest in some idea, or we saw the Constitution DAO with a colossal failure for DAOs.
Was it? I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I disagree. I disagree. I think it was an incredible display of a social DAO. I think it was a display of young people mobilizing, and to join a DAO, you have to learn what it is. Yeah. You have to learn what crypto is. You have to read about 20 other things. Yeah. You have to figure out how to join it, what people are interested in, who's lying to you in the DAO space, how the tech works. Anyone that can do that many things, is awesome, and the next project might be the one.
Yeah. So do you see companies being possible in the DAO space? Do you see like forming, if you want to form a company because you have a new idea, for example, a tech startup, you have the next CRM platform for Salesforce or something like that. Do you see it as a possibility to get together with a bunch of investors, raise a DAO, make digital term sheets almost on the blockchain, and function it like that?
Absolutely, and I'm really positive about DAOs. I think. So one of the things that's happening in Australia in the crypto space is that not just in terms of public mass adoption, but also government, recognition of what's happening in the space. They're finally starting to, I shouldn't be too critical. They're taking notice of what's happening, and recent reports and stuff in the space have taken a really positive view of DAOs as well, and have said, hey, look into this tech and this opportunity because it could solve a lot of problems we have around corporate structure and governance. And so I'm watching to see what the government says about it. Obviously, we've got an election this year, which is going to be, who knows what will happen to the crypto space with that volatility that might bring. But I know that government is certainly, and that's public information, is certainly paying more attention to it. And I'm really positive about DAOs. And I try to run my startup with as many DAO principles as I can.
We see a number of comments, people's pessimistic views on DAOs. And they seem to have this mentality that the government's going to come in and blow the virtual doors down. FBI, open up! And, hold everybody up or something. I don't know. I don't understand why there's such pessimism. Is there anything that you'd say particularly to those people to reassure them that it's not as drastic as that? Or, I don't know, do you see how it plays out at all or not so much?
Yeah. I would say two things in my experience is, if that's what you're afraid of, what is behind the doors that you don't want them to see? Yeah. And, is there anything illegal behind those doors? Because they'd see that. So firstly, my question is why are you so anti it? Because then you can get to, is there a misunderstanding here? Do you maybe not understand what it is? How some people, I think we've seen, in politics the last few years, you're so mad about something, but you don't understand what you're mad about. I think that might be a little bit what's happening with the DAO things, is maybe there's just some misunderstanding about the opportunities that it has. So I'd say, what is the objection, and look into the tech and look what is happening, behind it. But there will be things that we have to trade. There will be things that we have to. The trick is making sure we don't give too much, and we don't give too much access, and we don't allow industry or corporations or whatever to invade our privacy in a way that restricts the free market and what we can do as startup founders, and also trade secrets. I get it. You want to keep your stuff private. But the blockchain isn't like an open door policy. It's tracking transactions, and it's tracking what's happening in a way that, if you want to convey something, isn't it quicker to just announce it in this way that everybody can see it? If you've got a company that's got 20,000 people, what is quicker? Is it quicker to go around to every single one and have a chat to every single one, or to announce it? And because you've got really great structures and frameworks that ensures that everybody's going to see that, nobody's going to miss out, nobody's going to there's not going to be a lot of those problems that we have in business today. So, I mean, I have this conversation, as you guys would know, with anyone who new is scary. They're like, oh, I don't get it. I don't like it. The government hasn't backed it.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm like, maybe, firstly, the government is really looking into it right now. And secondly, they might back it because they could realize that they'll save a lot of money if they did. Oftentimes, it cuts out a lot of costs as well. And that's when I see people change their mind. They're like, we'll save how much money? What did you say? It'll be how secure? And I'm like, I've been trying to tell you. Yeah.
we've delved into the details, and it's awesome. On behalf of our listeners who maybe they're joining us for the first time or they've listened for a while and they like the concept of crypto, they like the idea of NFTs, DAO seems pretty cool, and they simply want even just personal exposure to the space, or they want further learning. What would you recommend be the best place for them? Well, two things. What would be the best place for them to find that information? Are there particular resources that you found helpful? Obviously, what you do, what we do, we try to provide that. And the other thing is like, is there a particular crypto or something like that you think, hey, for someone who, because you have to invest a fair bit of time into stuff like this, and the further along you go, the more risky it is, and the more information you need. And so some people simply don't have that time. And so we were asking Jory a similar question, where it's like, okay, if I don't want to speculate on NFT projects, is there just an underlying currency that I could own? So the question is, what's some great resources that people could find? And are there any particular more stable assets in the ecosystem that people could just get some exposure?
Yeah, for sure. So I think resources can be a little bit overwhelming, because when you do have that curiosity and you go try to learn more, it can be really overwhelming. I would say look for people that are doing things like we're doing, which is laying out the landscape for them, which goes to that. Nobody has the time, except for a couple of people, to be researching crypto 24 hours a day, right? So there are a couple of people in the space that have condensed a lot of information. And I guess that goes back to like, is it good quality information? So I would say look out for people that are doing teaching and education and giving you the tools of where to research, where to invest, where is safe to invest. And I mean, I've got my YouTube channel, which is got my beginner's guide to cryptocurrency and blockchain. It's a 10-week course. I started that for all my girlfriends who don't care about crypto. Is that on your website as well? So the YouTube is linked from my website. Gotcha. Yeah. So thank you. Yeah. So, or just search Crypto Karin on YouTube. So I started that for my girlfriends who were curious and wanted to like learn about what I was doing, but didn't have a lot of time to invest. And, you can't just go nuts and invest in things without doing that little bit of research. So definitely go and do that. Start with my course, your course. There are a couple of other really amazing people that are laying out all of the information, because I would say follow your gut. If you feel like you're being sold something, you probably are. And that should be your first like red flag that picks up. Like someone will be like, come learn crypto with me. And to learn that, you should buy this coin. You come learn to learn. And then go do with that whatever you want. Look out for those people, because those are the ones that are going to help you get those foundations. And then from there, you can, go look for content where people talk about. I do that as well. I think everybody is versatile, but look for content that's about one coin or one project. And because the thing is, if you're new and you land on that person's one video, that might just be them talking about it and doing a review. And you're new and you're like, oh, you're the first person I've heard talking about that, like buy. Yeah. And it was probably me just giving a review saying, don't buy this. It's really bad. And they got excited about it and went nuts. So resources, and part of that is, again, trusting your gut and listening to like, am I being sold something? So resources that cover, the bigger picture is really important. And that recognizes, I guess, the lack of time we all have in the space. And just being careful and looking at your own, how much money do you have? How much money do you have to lose? That's a hard question to ask yourself. Like if you put in $100, $1,000 in something, like, will you be okay if you never see it again? Right. Yeah. Like these are hard questions to ask yourself. Like, and I think it's easier than it looks. I mean, it looks easier than it is sometimes. So sometimes I'll be like, I can lose this money. And then I do lose the money. I'm like, oh, I don't like that. I did not like that. So you've got to be ready for that. I'm like, I did it to myself. So learn from others that have made the mistakes. And that's when you're looking at influencers. Someone added me the other day. They're rating all these influencers and they added me to be like, I'm coming for you. And I saw, so they created this YouTube and Instagram and everything and I'm like in the background, they're like rating influencers and they added me as to taunt me. I don't
congrats.
know.
I'd say that's awesome.
But I was like, it was kind of a power move of him like adding me before he reviewed me. I was like, okay. So, I mean, I'm not stressed about it because I've never sold something that's like been a scam. And so
did you come above Addis Paul in the ranking, or did you?
I was watching all of that happening. It's really fun because I follow, obviously, like that group. I find them fascinating. So I follow them, and then I learn about all the drama of the crypto stuff. I'm like, oh, so that's okay. That's interesting. So be careful about the people that, again, do you feel like you're being sold something? Because if you do, then look out ahead.
yeah, for sure. That's great. All right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time with us today.
Of course. Do you feel like, did we get enough content?
Yeah, can I just say, Karen, I don't think like you realize like some of the stuff you say is really, really good. And
really?
Yeah, super clippable. So
good.
Yeah, it's great.